Hello! Welcome! Today I'd like to talk about something that the guides sometimes talk to me about, which is living the Serenity Prayer. This is something that I've been working with some of my one-on-one clients with throughout the prior season. So in case you've never heard it, the Serenity Prayer is as follows. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Yes, there are things in life. There is a fate, there is a destiny, there are factors that are outside of our control. And when we resist those things, that tends to lead to a great deal of suffering. Acceptance of the things we cannot change. Courage to change the things that we can. This is also huge. This is the point at which we have agency in the physical world. All of us have a fate. We have certain fated experiences. Now, they are in the hands of a higher power, but I do believe that we are conscious co-creators and that we do carefully select our fated experiences before we enter our physical bodies and enter the earth plane. Nevertheless, there are things that are fated experience. But as all the sort of manifestation teachers teach, there's also free will experiences. There are areas where we can put our will and bring about wonderful results, have experiences, make choices. A good life very often can be created when we are able to, and that's the third part of the prayer, right? The wisdom to know the difference. When we are able to recognize what is within our control and accept that. Sometimes with the help of the angels. That's one of my favorite ways to work with the angels. I often ask the angels, dear angels, please harmonize my fear-based thoughts. Please help me find happiness and health within the experience of this. Please help me see this situation, which is out of my control, through your eyes, through the highest perspective, in the most loving way. Often I find that accepting what we cannot change is a pretty quick pathway to greater harmony. And I think the world sees this right now. I think we see it all around us. Like, look at the Mel Robbins movement. Let them. Let them. What is that about? That is about the first part of the prayer. That is about the serenity that is gained from accepting what you cannot change. And very often part of what you cannot change is the way that other people act. We have a lot of control over our own behavior, words, and actions, but with others, we can wish and hope and we can pray for other people that they bring out the very best of their character, but at the end of the day, what they choose to say and do is out of our control. And that's okay. And I think if we can accept that and sort of laugh, that can be really good. But I see, like, amongst those that are very spiritual, sometimes a little bit of a lot of serenity from accepting everything, to the point that sometimes the serenity is even lost and it leads to distress. I see sometimes too much of a surrendering to fate, actually. Too much of a, you know what? This is out of my hands, like, this is in God's control, like, if it's meant to be, it'll be. And like, yes, if something is meant to be, opportunities to say yes to that thing will be put in our life, but we will still have to say yes. Guides, the angels, they can bring someone to our door, but they can't make us open the door. If you're in a life situation, and I think most of us are, and that's gonna be my next video, is gonna be about the nodes and our life situations that are tricky. So if you're in a life situation and you're unhappy with that situation, there is probably an ability to create greater harmony by living out the Serenity Prayer. By identifying what aspects of that situation are out of your control and accepting those, but also really being honest about what aspects of that situation are within your control that you could take some sort of action on to move yourself forward. And what we see with, like, sometimes people get stuck in victim mindset, that's just a slight imbalance toward a lack of agency. People that are unhappy typically are not living the Serenity Prayer in equal balance. They've overly given up their agency, saying, oh, this is pointless, like all this is just happening, I have no control. Or it's the reverse. They're trying to take control over everything and control a situation that is actually fate. But it's in the balancing of both that I think we find a greater happiness and well-being. So for example, where I see this a lot is with dating. I often find people are out of balance here between the surrendering control to a higher power and creating consciously in the physical world. Sometimes people are like, you know what? When I'm meant to meet that person, God's gonna make that happen. Well, that's beautiful. But some of these people are not leaving their house, like at all. When's the last time you turned to someone you were interested in and said hello? And so I find sometimes there are certain life situations where people are just putting it fully to the spirit world while it's not taking action. Bring it in, you ask yourself, okay, am I really doing all that I can? The answer might be no in that situation. You know, are you telling your friends and family? Are you saying, I'd like to meet someone, can you introduce me? When you see someone that interests you, do you say hello? Do you introduce yourself? Are you going to events? Are you putting on your shoes and walking out of the house? Are you making eye contact with strangers, right? Like, are you doing your part? Another way of saying the Serenity Prayer without saying it officially is like that quote, do your best and let go of the rest. Do your best and let God do the rest. Like, people say that one too. And so I think that there's wisdom in that too. But the other flip side of this that, like, we often see in dating is the person that has every single item on the list. And they have all this plan. It's like, okay, I'm definitely going here. And when I do, I'm definitely going to meet this person and they're going to be like this and they're going to check all the boxes. And that person experiences disharmony too. Because the truth of the matter is, you can show up, you can wear your very best, you can have your list, you can do the magical abracadabras, but the truth of the matter is these physical worlds are a co-creation with the divine. It's our free will, our proclivities, our interests, our inputs, and the magical juju. It really is true. That comes from the spirit world. And so I think the more that we can learn to communicate and work with the guides, the angels, our higher power, the spirit world, prayer, in order to understand the wisdom to know the difference. What within this, where do I have the power to change my life, to bring about the highest outcomes? And where should I accept and work within the constraints that you have given me? How can I take what you have given me, the limitations, and create the very best here? Have the most enriching experience here in the physical world, do the greatest good while I'm here. And to me, that's a good life. And that's sort of like what I've been working with a lot of my one-on-one clients with. Let's look at your life and let's see what's fate. Let's ask the guides, where should we accept? What is out of our control? And what is within your control? Where can you make your splash? Where can you leave your legacy? Where can you experience goodness and thriving through a little effort of your own with a little bit of magic from God, source, the universe, the guides, and the angels? And now that's where we get going in life, living the Serenity Prayer. So if you're struggling in some area, happy to talk to you. Always include details about calls below, but really getting honest with yourself. And it takes courage to be honest. And it does take a certain amount of wisdom, and sometimes we need others to help us gain that wisdom about what is the difference. And sometimes another person who's less emotionally attached to our life situation can look at our life situation and identify, wow, it seems like you're expending a ton of energy here over in this thing and you're not getting results. Maybe it's not within your control, right? Or I noticed that you're waiting for some other power to make this thing happen in your life, but have you tried this? Maybe you could do this. We all need a little help sometimes. So alas, I give this to you today, an experiment with living the Serenity Prayer, something that I think can benefit us all, no matter our age or stage in life, and particularly in those life areas that are most important to us, finding that perfect balance between calling on God, Source, Universe, guides, and angels, and accepting their intervention in our life, even if it looks different, but also accepting that our thoughts, words, and actions can create amazing things in these physical worlds, and often there's things we can do in concert with the divine to bring about the greatest results and the greatest good. And I hope more and more that we can find serenity by accepting the things we cannot change, accepting our fate, accepting our destiny, knowing what that is, but getting really energized by the experience of shifting and creating in our reality in really positive ways, where we do have some free will and creative liberty. And if we do that every day, living life one day at a time, living in the here, living in the now, as we do that every day, we create an amazing life with much greater harmony, much greater serenity than we would if we were out of balance in either way. Anyway, thank you for listening today. It's a joy to have you here on the channel as we learn and grow together and have the best experiences of our lives, our temporary lives here in the physical earth plane. Thank you for being here and being a part of the earth experience together. May you find great harmony and happiness and serenity today. Many blessings to you, and namaste.